In the heart of World War II, amidst the deafening roar of cannons and the endless shadow of conflict, a story unfolded that defied the very nature of war. This is the story of Alexei, a young soldier in the Soviet Red Army, and Emma, a German nurse whose compassion knew no enemy lines. Their tale is a powerful testament to how love can blossom in the most barren of landscapes. A beacon of hope against the backdrop of history's darkest chapter. It was 1943, on the brutal Eastern Front. The fighting was relentless. A meat grinder that consumed lives and erased humanity. Alexei, barely out of his teens, had seen more horror than most could imagine in a lifetime. He fought with the grim determination of a man defending his homeland, but inside, a part of him was withering away, hardened by the daily spectacle of death. One fateful day, during a fierce skirmish near a makeshift field hospital, Alexei was wounded. A piece of shrapnel tore through his leg, leaving him stranded and bleeding as his unit was forced to retreat. He dragged himself into the ruins of a shelled-out building, expecting the worst. He was in enemy territory, injured and alone. As his vision blurred and consciousness began to fade, a figure knelt beside him. He braced for the end, but instead of a bayonet, he felt a gentle hand on his forehead. It was Emma, a nurse with the German Red Cross. She had stayed behind to tend to the wounded, regardless of their uniform. Her eyes, a startling blue, held no hatred, only a profound, weary sadness and a deep-seated instinct to heal. She saw not a Soviet soldier, not an enemy, but a young man in agony. Disregarding all protocol and personal risk, she cleaned and dressed Alexei's wound, gave him water, and shared a small piece of her bread ration. She couldn't speak his language, and he couldn't speak hers. But in that shared moment of vulnerability and kindness, a silent understanding was forged. Emma helped Alexei hide in the cellar of a bombed-out church, a place no one would think to look. For the next several weeks, she risked her life every day to bring him food, water, and fresh bandages. She would sneak away from her duties, her heart pounding with fear of being discovered by her own side. Discovery would mean a court-martial, or worse, being branded a traitor. In the dim, dusty light of the cellar, they started to communicate. They used gestures, drawings in the dirt, and the few words they could teach each other. He learned her name, Emma. She learned his, Alexei. He told her about his family's farm, the vast fields of sunflowers under a peaceful sky. She described her home in Berlin, her dream of becoming a doctor, a dream now overshadowed by war. They found solace in these stolen moments. In that subterranean world, they were not soldiers or enemies. They were just Alexei and Emma. He was captivated by her courage and her unwavering gentleness. She was drawn to his quiet strength and a flicker of hope she saw in his eyes, a hope she thought the war had extinguished in everyone. They fell in love, quietly and desperately, in the ruins of a world that was trying to tear them apart. Their connection was a secret garden, a fragile sanctuary they nurtured while chaos raged above. But their time was running out. As Alexei's leg healed, the reality of their situation became more pressing. He couldn't stay hidden forever, and Emma couldn't keep her secret indefinitely. The front lines were shifting, and one day the inevitable happened. A German patrol, sweeping the ruins, stumbled upon the cellar. Alexei was discovered. He was captured and taken as a prisoner of war. The last thing he saw was Emma's face, her expression a mask of terror and heartbreak as she was held back by her fellow Germans. He was certain he would never see her again. He was sent to a POW camp, a place of starvation, disease, and despair. The only thing that kept him going was the memory of Emma's eyes and the sliver of bread she had shared with him. He held on to her name like a prayer. For Emma, the world collapsed. She was interrogated, suspected of being a sympathizer, She endured the suspicion and scorn of her colleagues, her every move watched. She had no way of knowing if Alexei was alive or dead. The war dragged on, each day a new torment, her heart aching with a loss she couldn't share with anyone. She continued her work, her hands tending to the wounded, but her spirit felt broken. 2 long, agonizing years passed. The war finally came to an end in 1945. Europe was a continent in ruins, picking up the pieces of a shattered world. Millions were displaced, searching for lost loved ones amidst the chaos. Alexei was liberated from the POW camp, a skeletal version of his former self, but alive. His first and only thought was of Emma. He had no idea where to even begin looking. Germany was divided, communication was a wreck, and he was just one of millions of lost souls. But he had to try. He started a journey that seemed impossible, traveling west, back towards the place where they had met. He carried a small, worn photograph of her that he had found in a locket she accidentally left behind in the cellar. He showed her picture to anyone who would listen: relief workers, soldiers, fellow refugees. He asked for Emma, the nurse with the kind eyes. Months turned into a year. He worked odd jobs, saved what little he could, and kept searching. Many told him to give up, that his search was a fool's errand, that she was likely gone. But he couldn't. The hope she had given him in that cellar was the only thing that felt real in this post-war nightmare. Meanwhile, Emma had returned to what was left of Berlin. She worked in a hospital for displaced persons, her days filled with the ghosts of the war. She often scanned the faces of the endless stream of refugees, a faint, desperate hope in her heart. She would find herself whispering his name, Alexei, into the quiet of the night. One cold afternoon in the spring of 1947, Alexei found himself in a crowded refugee center in Berlin. He was tired, hungry, and on the verge of losing all hope. He was about to turn and leave when he heard a voice, a soft, familiar voice, speaking German, calming a crying child. His head snapped up. Across the crowded hall, he saw her. It was Emma. She was thinner, her face etched with the hardships she had endured, but it was her. Her blue eyes, though weary, were still the same. For a moment, he couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then, he called her name, Emma. She froze. The sound of her name, spoken in that familiar Russian accent, cut through the noise of the hall. She turned slowly, her eyes searching the crowd. And then she saw him. Gaunt, dressed in worn-out clothes, but it was him. It was Alexei. Time stood still as they stared at each other across the room. Then they ran. They met in the middle of the hall, oblivious to the people around them. They embraced, holding on as if they were the only 2 people left in the world. Tears streamed down their faces, tears of joy, of relief, of 2 years of unspoken pain and longing finally released. They had found each other. Against all odds, their love had survived the war, the prison camps, the distance, and the silence. They had crossed the borders of hatred and nationalism that had defined their world. Alexei and Emma's story didn't end there. They married and settled in a quiet town, building a new life from the ashes of the old one. Their home was not defined by a flag or a language, but by the love that had miraculously guided them back to one another. Their story serves as a profound reminder that even in the most intense fires of conflict, the human heart can find a way to love. It proves that our shared humanity is a force far more powerful than any weapon or any wall we build to divide us. Love, true and resilient, can and will transcend everything. Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of the human spirit's incredible strength. We'll see you in the next video.